Hi, this is Gil Cargill. In the next 10 minutes or so, I'm going to talk to you about one of the most important capabilities of our autopilot prospecting system. That's that artificial intelligence powered prospecting system that does the work that your sales teams or sales efforts either can't do because they don't have bandwidth and time and or won't do because of other issues. I also want you to meet the consideration rate. This is the most overlooked sales metric, which I'll bet wasn't shared with you when you were in business school. Consideration rate, simply stated, is the percent of demographically desirable decisions that consider you. If you aren't considered, you can't compete. If you can't compete, you won't win. The number one superpower, if you will, of the autopilot prospecting system is it will introduce you to opportunities that you can't get to in any other way. As a matter of fact, we will create and maintain up to 13,000 relationships with prospective buyers on an annual basis for you without you hiring one additional salesperson, without you doing any additional work until one of those relationships wants to discuss purchasing from you. So consideration rate is the superpower. It's really important that we take a sharp pencil to it and focus on what your consideration rate is. Our goal is to make sure you compete for all demographically desirable decisions. And we do that utilizing the power of artificial intelligence to help your team get in touch and, most importantly, stay in touch with, as I said a moment ago, up to 13,000 demographically desirable decision makers and influencers. In other words, we don't want you to miss another sale because they didn't know that you existed or you didn't know the buyer existed. You see, it's all about relationships, and we define a business relationship as a decision maker or an influencer, a guy or a gal who can make the decision to buy from you and or can influence the decision. Now, research has shown that in order to create and maintain those relationships, you must touch each individual between 7 and 12 times per year. So if a company that you're trying to get your product or service into has 3 decision makers, you need to be prepared to touch that company anywhere from 21 to 36 times per year. And we define a touch as an email, a text message, a regular mail, a face-to-face meeting, a Zoom meeting, the prospect coming by your booth, whatever. But if you aren't touching those 3 people a total of 21 to 36 times per year as a group, then you're not optimizing your consideration rate. And if you don't optimize your consideration rate, you won't be able to compete for all the demographically desirable opportunities that you deserve. You must be proactive in this effort to create and maintain relationships. And it's all about TOMA, top of mind awareness. You see, if a prospect is allowed to forget about you because you aren't touching them repeatedly, then they very well may buy from your competition while you have established rapport, but you haven't maintained it. That's where our autopilot prospecting system really shines, because it does that work for you without you having to hire additional people or doing additional work. Without top of mind awareness, you won't compete, and if you don't compete, you can't win. And you know, there's something funny that happened recently. I'm writing an article for my blog, and I had to do some research way back into my early IBM days. And I started to wonder, what's the difference between selling in the early 1970s versus 2023? And I saw that, based on my records, in those days I was able to maintain 30 to 50 good relationships with prospective companies and the influencers and decision makers in those companies. And then I discovered, guess what? In today's world, my typical client's best salesperson maintains 30 to 50 relationships with the decision makers and influencers in their accounts, even though they've taken advantage of CRM technology. So let's take a look at what Autopilot will do for your consideration rate. In just a moment, I'm going to pull up a spreadsheet that is the same spreadsheet that accompanied the memo that had the link that you activated to look at this presentation. But just as a reminder, our Prospecting Autopilot system will create and maintain 13,000 relationships annually with prospective buyers and influencers. It will give you no excuses. It will never show up late. It will never blame its spouse or significant other for poor performance. It will work 5 days a week, 8 hours a day without fail. Let's take a look at how the system actually works. And if you'd like more information, feel free to call me at 310-447-4102 or email me at gil@gilcargill.com. Let's take a look at the spreadsheet. Now, download the spreadsheet that accompanied this memo. And what I'm going to do is pretend you're a prospect, and let's plug in these 4 numbers. And that's all it takes. This is a 30-second exercise. So let's say we close 75 new accounts per year. Our market share is 5%. Our close ratio is 33%. And the average revenue per new account is $12,000. That's all you have to do. And now what I'd like to do is walk you through how we've come up with our conclusions. So 75 new accounts closed per year divided by your close ratio of 33% means that last year, to get those 75 accounts, you contested 227 decisions. You wrote 227 quotes or proposals, or you made 227 closing presentations. We're going to take that number and we're going to divide 227 by your market share. And I do that because I've found that your market share equals your visibility. If your market share is 70%, you will have a much higher visibility and you'll compete more often. But let's assume that 5% is your market share and it's also your visibility, or in that ballpark. And you can adjust these numbers any way you'd like, as often as you'd like. But moving on, 227 new accounts contested per year divided by 5% equals 4,500 new accounts closing per year. Now that means that in your marketplace, based on your estimates, 4,545 accounts are closing every year. Let's take that number and subtract from it the number of accounts that you are currently contesting, and that means that there are 4,318 decisions in your market that you're not contesting. Again, these are guesstimates, but I want you to compare and contrast what would happen were you to compete for all of the opportunities in your market that you're not currently contesting. You see, this red cell identifies your consideration rate. So there are 4,318 accounts that you're not contesting, and let's apply your same proficiency. Now, we guarantee that the Autopilot prospecting system will produce satisfactory results. We don't guarantee that it will make your team more proficient. So if you're closing 33%, which you're currently doing, we're going to assume that that will stay the same. But as the old cliche goes, the more at-bats you get, the more hits you'll get. So let's apply your current proficiency to the number of non-contested accounts. And if you just got your hat in the ring with your current proficiency, you would close 1,425 additional transactions. And if each transaction is the same as your current average of $12,000 per year in value, that would produce an additional $17 million for your top line. So let's take a hard look at what it's costing you to not have a relationship with our company and our Autopilot prospecting system. Based on the guesstimate that you put in up here, and again, feel free to change these as often as you'd like, you're not competing and for $17 million in business. Let's get you your fair share of this money as soon as possible. And the difference between where you're at and where this will take you is our prospecting autopilot system. Again, I thank you for your time and your attention and wish you good luck and good selling. I look forward to working with you to explore the numerous benefits that our autopilot prospecting system will produce for you and your team. Have a great day.